Over here in the split screen, you can see a table that I'm working on. I've been putting out a lot of videos on the making of this table. In today's video, I'm going to cover the finishing. I'm going to show you how to get professional results using polyurethane and how I put a finish on the steel legs. Let's get into it. I just wanted to give you a good view of the completed top with the finish on it. For the wood, I'm using spray polyurethane. It's semi-gloss made by Minwax. It is not the cheapest option, but it's probably the easiest way to get a professional result. I didn't want to wait for the bottom to dry before I finished the top, so I laid out where the top would be attached to the legs, installed some lag bolts into the top, and then zip tied those lag bolt heads to the prototype legs. And this way I can spray the bottom and move right to the top without waiting for one to dry. A few precautions: you're definitely going to want to wear a respirator, one of the cartridge style, that'll filter out the fumes from this. It's pretty potent. Also, painter's plastic, a lot of overspray is going to settle. You don't want to do this outside because you end up with a ton of dead bugs in your finish. I chose polyurethane because it's one of the most durable finishes you can use. You can put a cold glass of water on the top and not worrying about creating a ring on the finish. Also, the spray polyurethane is going to look a little more natural than brushing it on. Inevitably, brushing it on is going to get it on there a little thicker, and the finish is just going to look a little more plasticky. You will see some of the pores in the wood, making it look a little more natural. I figured I put about 7 coats on. I didn't really count, but that's what my memory says. What I did is I sprayed the top, then I moved over and sprayed the shelf, and then I sprayed the finish on the legs. And by the time I had done that, I could come back and put another coat on the top, followed by a second coat on the shelf and then on the legs. I would do this just one time before letting everything dry for about an hour, and then I would come back and repeat that process all over again. So I did that about 3 times. So having done that process 3 times, that amounts to 6 coats. So at that point, I let everything dry for 2 solid days and then hand sanded the surface with 400 grit sandpaper. And just wipe that down with a cloth that had denatured alcohol on it so you picked up all the dust. Let that thoroughly dry and then put one more top coat on the wood. So the hand sanding was just enough to remove any bumps that formed on the finish. And I believe what those bumps are is you get dust that settles on the finish, and then you get overspray that kind of settles in that bit of dust, creating this little bump. So the 400 grit sandpaper will remove that, and then hopefully your last finish won't have any of those. If it does, repeat that last process again. The finish I'm using for the legs is Rust-Oleum Gloss Clear Enamel, and I'm using this product simply because I used it on a project I made 10 years ago. It's holding up really well, so seems like I can't go wrong doing it again. I had some trouble with runs with this project, and I suspect a lot of that actually comes from the fact that you have to come at it from all the different angles, and you end up overlapping the spray too much and therefore getting too much spray on a given spot. So, I want to warn you, just be careful. Don't put it on too thick. It's a pain in the neck to get the runs sanded out. I did sand a few of them out. You don't want to sand all the way through the finish, as you will ruin your aged steel effect, or at least in my case. So this product does dry very fast. And because it dries so fast, you can be more cautious on how thick you put it on and come right back just even like a minute later, and it will have dried enough that you don't have to concern yourself about runs. So, definitely err on the side of caution. You don't want it to look powdery because you didn't get enough of it on. It basically just get a bunch of overspray on it, but definitely err on the side of thin coats. I wanted to spray everything at once. I didn't want an area where I had to turn it over and spray it, on a different occasion. So I plan on using leveling feet when everything is all said and done. So in the spot where I'm going to install those leveling feet, I drilled and tapped for 1/4 inch bolts, installed some long 1/4 inch bolts just to hold it up in the air, enough that I can spray underneath the feet as well. Later I'll come back and install the leveling feet in the same spot. For this finish, I think I used about 10 coats, and that's because after the first 6 coats, I sanded out the runs that I got, and then I think I put another 4 coats on. So the cost of finishing like this, for the top, I used about 5 cans of polyurethane at $11.28 a can. And then for the clear enamel, I used 2 or 3 cans, and those were $8 per can. Maybe not the best way of dealing with it. Here I'm wiping some of the runs off and then just giving it a quick spritz to blend everything in. Ideally, just don't put it that much on to begin with. So here's a quick look of what the finished legs look like without the top. I'm not going to promise you won't find any imperfections. I'm not a professional with the spray can, but this will give you a good feel for what you can expect. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope to catch you in the next one.